Well, good evening. My name is State Representative Ryan Spain. I represent the 73rd District and live in Peoria. My name Madigan Way has been Ryan Spain, long known in the state of Illinois. District, in fact, it's been known as long as I've been living. Mike Madigan began his reign as Speaker the year that I was born. We know the highlights of the Mike Madigan legacy in the state of Illinois: sky-high property taxes, crippling pension debt, driving population out of the state of Illinois, and gerrymandering those who remain to maintain his control and power in the legislature. Mike Madigan has used all levers of his power and position for his corrupt personal benefit and control. This legacy has been known for years by Democrats who have enabled him in the state of Illinois. Illinois House Democrats have voted for Mike Madigan as Speaker. They've received millions of dollars in campaign contributions from Madigan Enterprises. They've supported him as chair of the Democratic Party of Illinois. Today, I suspect you'll hear from Democrats who wish to have a little bit of revisionist history to talk about when they decided to step up and oppose the reign of Mike Madigan as Speaker. But it's important that we remember the truth and how this process actually played out. It began in July 2020 with an announcement from the U.S. Attorney's Office of a deferred prosecution agreement with Commonwealth Edison. It was then, just 1 month later, in August of 2020, that I joined Representative Chesney and House Republican leader Jim Durkin to invoke House Rule 91. This was the process, a very important, solemn, and deliberate process that launched a special investigating committee in the Illinois House of Representatives. This is important. This is our equivalent of an impeachment investigation and a proceeding that began to study the wrongdoings of Speaker Madigan. This action in the House, it's important that we remind you, was blocked and stonewalled every step of the way by the chairman of that committee, Mike Madigan's handpicked successor as Speaker of the House, Representative Chris Welch. This was an important process, one that we are now seeing the results playing out with the affirmation of all of the allegations contained in the deferred prosecution agreement. It's important that we talk to you about that process, and I'd like to now introduce our Deputy Republican leader who served on that committee, Representative Tom Demmer.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Tom Demmer, State Representative from Dixon. As Representative Spain mentioned, in August of 2020, we began a very important process to investigate Speaker Mike Madigan as a result of a petition that was filed in accordance with House rules. That investigation was based around a single charge, and it stemmed from the deferred prosecution agreement that was entered in federal court earlier that summer. The charge was not a criminal charge. It was not a tribunal to evaluate his criminal guilt or innocence. It was a charge under House rules to determine whether or not Mike Madigan had engaged in conduct unbecoming a legislator. The Special Investigative Committee was convened. 3 House Democrats were appointed. 3 House Republicans were appointed. Myself, Representative Deanne Mazzocchi, were both Republican members on that Special Investigative Committee. And from the very beginning, we sought to get the full story of what conduct Speaker Madigan had engaged in, who was responsible, and how we could hold individuals accountable. From the very beginning, the then chairman of the committee, Representative Chris Welch, and I reached out to U.S. Attorney John Lausch and had a personal conversation with him about our efforts to investigate in the Special Investigative Committee and how it interacted with the ongoing investigation in the U.S. Attorney's Office. He assured us in that conversation and assured us multiple times in letters going forward that our investigation would not compromise their investigation, and he had no objection to us calling the individuals named in their investigation to answer questions before our panel. We invited those individuals to testify, including Mike Madigan and Mike McLean. They declined to participate, unsurprisingly. We then sought to use the subpoena power of the Special Investigative Committee to compel their testimony, with the idea that how could we evaluate the conduct of Speaker Madigan without hearing from him and being able to ask him questions. House Democrats on the panel voted against those subpoenas. We held only 3 meetings over 3 months. We heard from only 1 witness. when House Democrats voted unanimously that no charge was warranted for conduct unbecoming a legislator. They shut down an investigation and willfully ignored the conduct that was entered in federal court as part of the deferred prosecution agreement, which has resurfaced today in criminal charges against Mike Madigan. They willfully ignored that conduct in order to protect their own political patron. The investigation should have proceeded. The investigation should have gotten the answers, and we should have been acting in late fall of 2020 to take action against Speaker Madigan instead of waiting for the criminal justice system to do it for us. The important message here today is that ethics require more than just not breaking laws, that a culture of ethics in Springfield doesn't wait for an indictment to happen, but that we hold each other accountable, that we go through the appropriate process, and that we get the answers that we need when we need them. I'll now turn it over to the House Republican leader, Jim Durkin.
Thank you, Tom, Ryan, and Deanne. This is it right here. This is it. Today may be the darkest day in Illinois government history. Right here, all 106 pages. This 22-count federal indictment against former Democrat Speaker Michael Madigan is the beginning of the power cleaning so desperately needed in Illinois government. This indictment is the most sweeping public corruption charge and case to hit Illinois in decades. The depth of this corruption that's alleged in the indictment is truly breathtaking. But this is not just an indictment against Michael Madigan, but it's an indictment against the Democrat Party of Illinois that he ran for decades. It also starts at the top with Governor Pritzker, who was elected with the full force and backing of Michael Madigan. Speaker Welch, Mike Madigan's hand-picked successor, and all of the House Democrats who gladly drank from the Madigan trough over the many decades and even up to the last November's election, even after the deferred prosecution agreement was entered. Today, you will hear from many House Democrats who spent years benefiting from Mike Madigan's power and spoke out only when it was politically advantageous. Be wary of them. Also, remember that as our caucus pushed forward for answers and as we pushed forward for the truth at the Special Investigation Committee, we were stymied at every turn by those who would rather protect Mike Madigan than reform our state. For those Democrats who protected Michael Madigan at the Special Investigation Committee, Speaker Welch, Representative Manley, and Representative Hernandez, history will not be kind to you. Your sheltering and protection of Mike Madigan during the Special Investigation Committee was a disservice to Illinois and to all of their constituents. But don't believe this is over. Madigan Enterprise continues to operate in Illinois. What else can we do? Let me just tell the public this. Next November, the citizens of our state will have a real option. They'll have a real option to change the course of our state. Send that message to the Democrats holding seats who run this state at the voting booth. I think it's really important to know that after we filed the Special Investigation Committee, the Democrats should have taken notice. There should have been a red flag when the deferred prosecution agreement was entered into between Commonwealth Edison and the U.S. Attorney's Office. They should have demanded answers. They should have demanded the truth. That's Governor Pritzker and all the House Democrats. Many of them stuck their head in the sand. Other ones were outright belligerent and fought us tooth and nail to get to the truth. So for the citizens of Illinois, I hope there's some vindication for them, that they know that there is an option and there's a path forward for a better state government. But every problem that we have in the state government right now with our finances, ethics, and every other challenge that we have starts and stops with Mike Madigan and his team.